Welcome to episode 320 of the Game Deflators podcast. My name is John, and I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody, here at the Game Deflators podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and guess who's not coming to Christmas in this week's Inflation Deflation Challenge?
That's right. We're uninviting Santa.
Right?
Uninvited. Yeah. I mean, dude, the guy barges into your house, steals your milk and cookies, and then leaves a couple presents, says, all right, yeah, that's it. Right.
Claims he's looking for his sister after he rifles through your mail.
Yeah, exactly. Breaks a couple bricks going down a chimney, doesn't replace them. Uninvited. So,
Uninvited.
yeah. So if you didn't get the clue, we are playing Uninvited on the NES this week. But Ryan, what else are we talking about?
So this week we're talking about video game reprints and what they mean for your collection. The Sony Sony makes a big investment in Kadokawa, but will it pay off? And also we take a look at Microsoft, their plans for a cross-platform future, and as always, wrapping things up with that inflation deflation.
And speaking of platforms, you can find us on thegamedeflators.com. You can also find us on social media. We are at Game Deflators on X, and I just recently learned it's actually at The Game Deflators on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. So all of those are The Game Deflators. So X is the only one that's kind of screwing with us because
We
they don't
could
like
just
the.
drop that at this point. Like, is anybody even there?
Yeah, dude, we get a lot more engagement on there than anywhere else.
Good. Keep engaging.
Yeah, keep engaged on there. We're also on YouTube, so you can find us at the Game Deflators on YouTube. So go ahead, and if you are watching, ring the little bell so that way you know when we're on. Like, subscribe, comments on everything. And then on your podcast application, definitely appreciate you listening. Same deal, like, comment, subscribe. So, all right, let's move on. This is going to be a very short pickups and currently playing this week.
Oh, man. I don't even remember the last time I saw this.
I mean, to be honest, I've been sick for like a while now. I got sick on my trip, and all into last week, it just stretched to like just difficulty working the entire time, man. Like my boss is like, "Hey, can you go ahead and look at like this and this?" I'm like, "Look, I'm coughing up a storm. I can't even concentrate on reading a damn email right now, let alone putting in a bunch of details into a PowerPoint. I will try." Um, but ended up making it through the work week, but it was a lot of days of minimal work and then logging off a little early here and there, just get some more rest in. And finally, I'm feeling a lot better now, but still got a nice lingering cough going. So we'll see. Like I want to cough right now. So let's get some water.
So
yeah. So
the only thing you picked up was a little bit of extra couch time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I
You
picked up
used none of it for games.
none of it was used for games at all. We did
In
my wife and I were watching Blind Spot though. Pretty good.
That's not a game.
No, but it's got Ashley Johnson, who's on Critical Role, which does have the game of D&D. So by default,
Oh, that's that
yeah.
show that she was in. I always
Yeah.
remember she wasn't like there for episodes because she was off like filming that in New York or something.
Yeah, and it takes place in New York too. Funny enough, it's pretty good.
I wonder why they were filming there.
I don't know. I mean, well, they filmed all over the place apparently, but yeah, no, it's a good show. We have definitely enjoyed that one for sure. But outside of that, well, you know what? We'll say I picked up a premium pass on Pokemon, the TCG.
Oh, you treat yourself.
I put in $10 and I canceled it right away. Wanted to see, do that little thing that we were talking about, right? Like see how far I could extend it to say, all right, I'm at the end of the month, which realistically looking at it, I should have maybe done December 30th because February only will go so many days, right? So theoretically I could have done the rest of December, right? Start on the 30th, gotten all the points from that and everything that's tied to it. Then go ahead and do all of February up to what, the 28th or 29th.
You mean January? You're missing a January in there.
January, sorry. Oh, no. You're right. So technically, if you do it in January and do the 30th of January, you should be able to extend past February, I would think, right? So then, because it's 30 days time.
Well, are you getting a 30-day membership or are you getting a 1-month membership?
I mean, it's the 1 month deal, but you cancel, right? So it's not like they can't. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know how that works. Like I had thought before that like when you spend hourglasses that you waste them, but you don't. Like if you're at, 30 minutes until your next pack opening and you use an hourglass, then it starts you at 11 hours and 30 minutes for your countdown. Like it rolls over the time. So I'm guessing it would probably do the same on that schedule.
We'll see. I'll let you know. I threw $10 in to see how it works, but I'm guessing it's going to let me roll it into the month of January, so I'll be able to take advantage of those
Yeah.
features. Because that wouldn't make any sense, right? Like you pay $10 and you only get like 4 days of time. That doesn't make any sense if you canceled it. So, and they wouldn't charge you on that day; they would charge you by the month in which you got it. So, if you hit the end of December, would you? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works.
How are you doing on your Mythical Island collection?
I've got one Mew, not an EX, no Celebes, and then everything else I picked up has been garbage.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
I got 2 Mew EXs and a Celebi.
Yeah,
And
I've hit straight trash.
I don't have a whole lot else. Like, I have a full art Salandit and Superior, but I got that from a Wonder Pick.
Let's see. I haven't done my picks this morning, and I've got 2 packs, or maybe 3, because it's almost time for my others. So yeah, let's see. I'll boot it up.
I'm gonna start saving my hourglasses from here. I've decided that I've spent enough on this set because the next set's gonna be coming out like late late January or something. So I want to start getting some hourglasses saved up, try to get a head start on whatever the new meta and things are going to be. I have not played anything for there you go.
Yep.
Non-EX Mew.
Non-EX Mew. Go on now.
But I want to be able to get a head start on that next meta. And I haven't done anything for that, like the new battle event.
Yeah, I've been using that because with the new battle event, I'm not gonna use 3 hourglasses. I'll hold off. I've been doing the new battle event because there's mission stuff that's tied to it. So you get like X amount of battles will get you hourglasses or stardust or something.
Yeah, I just haven't booted it up. I haven't decided exactly what I want to make. I've been trying to make some different decks and stuff lately. I was trying to do like a Luminion and Greninja deck to just see if I could like put together a team and just be able to like hit the back line for 90 a turn and just see what that's like, but it just doesn't have enough to really pull off. I would like to try doing like I saw Wheezing Mew deck is supposed to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I tried looking at Mew, so like I was thinking about the weaknesses of Mew, and basically the only thing that it doesn't do good against is like Pikachu. Because Pikachu, you need benched electric Pokemon for the attack to do any damage.
That
So
makes
it's
sense.
like, well, what if you just did Mew with like Joltik, and I forget what it evolves into, that like spider that's basically like a Voltorb, but it has a stun mechanic now.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe a couple other like electric, but then it's like, I mean, I'm just building a Pikachu deck that only works if I'm fighting another Pikachu. So it just seems like Mew is a good splash, but I haven't really found anything that I've played it in yet. I don't have like all the tools to like fully get on board with doing like the Celebi and just demolishing things.
Yeah, so I actually created the new Ponyta and Rapidash deck to go against the Celebi decks, and it's been kind of nice. So that's been
I
fun.
did try a Salandit deck. I tried doing Salandit and Wheezing, and that was pretty fun. And you can get in and do some pretty good moves. Like if you poison the Snivy, you can one shot with your Salandit. The evolutions just, they're not really that great for it. And trying to do any like dual energy color deck is hard. So I don't know. I'll keep messing around with some things. I haven't done too much. I've been playing some more Bug Fables. There will be some more episodes that'll go up. I just finished chapter 6. So I'm like almost 16 hours through the game. Probably got like 8 hours or so left or less. I haven't really been doing any of the side content, so I'll get everything wrapped up here in this next week.
Start thinking of punishments, people. We've only got 9 days.
It's already over, man. I already beat the game.
No,
It
you
just
didn't.
said so.
No, you didn't. You got 8 hours left.
So I did go over to a friend's house, and he had just downloaded Marvel Rivals, so I checked out a round of that, and it was actually pretty fun. I did not contribute to my team at all and I was very bad, but it was pretty interesting, and it's something that I was like, oh, you know what, I'll check that out. So I downloaded it, haven't booted it up myself, because I am working my way through Bug Fable still. So as soon as that's all done and I don't have that weighing me down, I can feel free to try exploring some other games again and start procrastinating on next year's new games resolution, which we will go over next week.
I think I'm pretty close to deciding. It's between 2 games right now. So, we will see which one I go with. Um, Leaning heavily toward, and they're both about the same amount of time hours-wise. They're gonna be both about, I don't know, 30 to 40 hours apiece, depending on the
Yeah.
game I go with. Yeah. So, and they're both part of, so as a hint for people, if they want to try and guess prior to next week, they're both part of larger franchises. So this isn't like a one and done type of game. This is the first out of several or more games. So, which would technically be 3 or more, right? Yeah, 3 or more. So, cool. Well, I think that covers our recent pickups and what we're currently playing. So let's go into reprints of games as our discussion this week.
Reprints.
Yeah. So I mainly wanted to chat with you on this because Final Fantasy VII, the original remake, it came out on PS4, as we all know, and then had a PS5 release. That PS5 release was a very limited print run through Square, and then it shot up in value as high as like $250 for a new version or new copy, and it was like 150 for a complete in box copy. VGP recently, well, not even VGP, right? Square has recently done a reprint of that game, similar to what they did with the Final Fantasy Pixel games. And yeah, the value of that game should start plummeting, I would think, pretty quickly, given that the PS5 copy is one of the things getting reprinted soon. That goes into market in February. So, just want to kind of get your idea as far as, or your thoughts, I should say, on reprints in general for modern games. I'm seeing a lot of collectors online, people I chat with that oftentimes get pissed off about these reprints happening mid generation for games that are fairly scarce for the most part. So we've seen it with a lot of Nintendo Switch titles that have gotten reprinted. We've, of course, now seen it with PS5 games. Curious what your thoughts are.
I don't know. There's nothing like, if you're so intent on not wanting other people to have access to the game so that you can have an inflated value for something, then you should have bought the collector's edition. So, like, I really could care less. Like, if you're upset because they reprinted just like a regular version of a game, then I don't know, kick rocks. I don't have any sympathy for you or your collection in that situation. Like, everybody deserves access to physical copies of games. We're going to lose that pretty quickly here, and then we'll all be in the same boat. So until then, let as many people get copies as want copies.
Yeah, it's kind of my thought on like the regular editions. Like I've been wanting a copy of the PS5 version of Final Fantasy VII for some time, and I wasn't going to pay exorbitant prices for a game that, yes, it had a limited run, but it's a current gen console. So we're not talking something that was on PS1 or PS2. It has obvious, rarity due to a limited run of prints that occurred back then. I mean, we're talking something that's still in print, still being played today, still manufactured from a console standpoint. It really shouldn't be a situation where it's $150, $200 for that game. Trine, for example, I think it was Trine 1 through 3 had like a physical, like on cart version of a game. And that was some exorbitant price point. VGP recently printed out like 1 through 4 for that game, right? So, like, technically speaking, the 1 through 3 is still gonna, I would think, hold some sort of rarity just based on it being a different cover or different games on and such. But now, if you want those other games, you can still get them on a disc or cart. 1 through 4. I
Yeah.
think it was 1
And I
through 4.
mean, it's not even a done series, so you need access for people to be able to play that whole series. And I mean, obviously we're excluding, the talk of digital in this. Like, obviously you can go and buy a copy
Yeah.
digitally, but I mean, that's the future nobody wants. So I
Yeah.
think
So yeah,
that
and so it's kind of like a conundrum, right? Like you want physical to remain for a period of time, but you don't want your games to get reprinted because you want them to hold some sort of value during a current generation. Well, you can't have both. Like
well, like,
if
you're gonna sell it?
yeah, well,
Like,
yeah, that too.
you're really gonna turn around and sell it like, "Oh, man, this game, like, went up, like, $40 in the last 3 years. I'm gonna turn around and make my profit now." Like, nobody's
Yeah,
doing that anyways.
it's kind of
It'll
it's
probably bounce back 30 years from now when it's actually a collector's item and not like a retail product.
yeah, exactly, and that's the thing, right? It's a product that is for something that is going on today, right? It's not. I've seen PS3 reprints and stuff like that, and I can agree. Like that kind of pisses me off. I really wish they would do second edition prints, things of that nature to denote that it is like specifically a reprint, or like small nuances that are changed on like the cover art, right? That to me makes a lot of sense when you're talking older games. But current gen stuff, like, come on, there shouldn't be some expectation that these games are going to hold their value unless they're collector's editions specifically. So I'm with you on that, and I'm happy I got that game pre-ordered. I also have the Messenger on PS5 pre-ordered as well. So you beat that years ago when we first started a podcast. I had been waiting for a physical copy to get
It's a good one.
reprinted. Yeah, I've been waiting for a physical copy to get reprinted for some time because I think it was limited run games had the initial version, and that's like I want to say it was hundreds of dollars for that game. And that sucked. Like I really wanted to play that, but I wasn't willing to,
Mhm.
of course, play it digitally. I didn't want to do that. I wanted a physical copy, but I didn't want to pay some stupid amount of money for it either. So I think we have to kind of consider that reprints are hopefully going to help preserve physical media for a longer period of time because there is some sort of demand for physical media. But as soon as these companies get a whiff of, and they already kind of have, right? As soon as they get a whiff of like, hey, there's no demand for physical media, they're going to stop it, right? So the more access we had to physical games, especially in the current gen, like right now in this generation, I think the more important it is for us to really accept these reprints coming through.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, most games that have, exponential value in a short amount of time are usually because of like some real limited print series. So I don't know exactly what the release was like for this originally, but it kind of surprises me that there's, not enough copies for it to not be so inflated anyways, you know?
I think when we had Barry on a long time ago, he had talked about the PS5 version, and a lot of PS5 games that have come out have had substantially less prints because they are selling so much digitally.
Mhm.
So that does make sense that at some point it did sell out. And I think that's why it's so important to really encourage people to pick up these physical games when they do become available as reprints, especially right now if it being a pre-order for that. So the more people pre-ordering this game on PS5, physical copy of Final Fantasy 7 and the Messenger, I think the more it's going to validate the necessity of like continuing physical media into like the PS6. Because I think what we all don't want is like a PlayStation 6, a new Xbox to come out with no disc based support whatsoever, right? I don't think anybody wants that, at least in
Yeah.
our smaller pool of collectors. So, all right. Well, let's look at our first article here. So before I cough, I'm gonna take another sip of water. Dude, I'm trying to hold off, dude.
You're
Like
doing good.
I got
Hang
like
in
a
there,
little
John.
got that little itchy bit in the throat and sucks. So Sony has become the largest shareholder for From Software parent company. I always mess this up. Kadokawa, right? Kadokawa Games or Kadokawa in general. So it's not a full takeover for right now. They would need somewhere around 4.3 billion to be able to do that. And well, that was Bungie money, right? They went ahead and spent that on Bungie, and now here we are wondering why there's so many Bungie layoffs and no From Software games that are exclusive to Sony. So
Yeah.
this one comes to us from IGM, but basically Sony has invested 350 plus million, I think it is, for Kadokawa.
318.
318. So yeah, close. Think about the previous investments that they had. It's all
There you
totaled
go.
now. Um, so that gives them about a 10% stake and now the largest shareholder. So not majority, but largest shareholder in that company. Of course, they are From Software's parent company, and Sony owns, I think it's 14% or 15%. of From Software, and then Tencent owns about 16. So Sony's right there with Tencent. Um, this is more of a strategic play. At the end of the day, it's not, like we said, it's not a full takeover. It's really for Sony to be able to have access to a lot of these properties and work with a strategic partner to bring those properties to life in other means. So when we think about things like Elden Ring, well, Sony also has their motion picture division. So you can consider maybe a Elden Ring live action. There might be animation that's done with it. Same with Demon Souls and Dark Souls and things of that nature. There's so much that they can do with those properties to put them into the motion picture scene, or taking it from a manga standpoint, or streaming on Crunchyroll, which they also own. So there's a lot of avenues Sony can take with a strategic partnership that don't exactly involve them putting forth a ton of money to acquire them. I'm still in the
And not
belief
having
that
to pay a bunch of paychecks afterwards.
yeah, I'm still in the belief that like Sony probably would have been better off not buying Bungie and picking up this company instead. They should have done that from the get go. And I think Bungie 2 years ago it said they paid 3.7 billion based on the 4.3 billion valuation that was provided in that article. Probably could have paid less for this company back then, a couple of years ago. So kind of disappointing on Sony's end to have not made the move, but here we are, right? Strategic partner, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. If it there's a lot of people that don't want exclusivity from Sony for stuff like this, and that's cool. I think from a business standpoint, it would make sense for them. But you got your wish, right? No exclusivity on Bloodborne and Bloodborne 2 and all these other titles down the road. I guess technically Bloodborne is IP that Sony owns, so they would have exclusivity anyways. But you know what I mean? Elden Ring and other stuff like exclusive to Sony. So you don't get your wish there, but we could get some really cool things in terms of, like I said, anime and manga and other things of that nature down the road. So I'm excited to see what comes from this, and hopefully everybody else is too. I think it's gonna be a pretty cool partnership
Yeah,
or
I mean,
expanded partnership.
with how much video games are mainstream now, and like Sonic 3 just came out in theaters,
I heard
you
it's
know,
good,
I liked all the Sonic movies that I've seen, both of them.
but
I haven't
like
seen the show.
really good. Like, I wanna say it's sitting at a 98% Rotten Tomatoes right now
No
on
way.
like the viewers, like the general viewer,
Oh,
and
okay.
then critics is like an 86
Dang,
on it.
good for them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty good time for getting, even more invested with some of these major IPs and franchises, and to have a lot of ways of distributing a big multimedia approach. That's really where the present and the future is going to be in IP, and getting that IP as big and pumped as you can. I mean, you know, they bought Bungie expecting to be able to run the world of, live service games, but live service games don't really mean anything unless there's something behind it, we're finding out, because there's a few very, very entrenched ones that are highly successful. And then there's a bunch that try to come out and flop. But then, like I was saying earlier, Marvel Rivals came out, and that's doing really well because it has that big Marvel IP. And now you see, FromSoft swinging for their first, um, multiplayer focused title in Elden Ring Night Rain. And, that's going to be another kind of boon going in that direction. Hey, we've put out a bunch of these games. This one was so huge. Everybody loved it. Let's make a multiplayer version of that. Let's make an anime of that. Let's get a live action Elden Ring. And it'll just be like, there'll be like two sentences in the whole thing, and like the character will like hold up a book to the screen so everybody can read the lore really carefully. I don't know exactly what'll go down, but like they will have a lot of opportunity here to move forward and bring a bunch of these things to even broader audiences, and probably make a shit ton of money doing so.
Yeah, and there's other things that people don't even consider, like you've got a Armor Core, right? There's
Mhm.
probably some really cool things they could do with Armor Core
Well,
as
they
well.
had that tie-in with Keanu Reeves for Armored Core for that Netflix series, right?
You're oh yeah, actually I just watched that. It's on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
What's it called again? I don't know. I started watching
Game
it.
something. I don't know.
I don't remember. I started watching it last night. The D&D. Okay, so we'll kind of tie back in here to recent pickups I'm currently playing, I guess. So I watched the first 2 episodes. One of them was Sifu. So the second one was Sifu. And then the first one I watched was the Dungeons and Dragons one. I'm not a fan of this actually because it's just like these shorts.
People said
Honest,
it's like commercials.
yeah, that's all it feels like. It feels so like the D&D one is like maybe 10 minutes and it's kind of cool. Like it brings in like all these so it's a teaser in a sense, right? So you have like this opening scene for the D&D one and there's this like um human guy who is stuck inside of a cage and all these other like D&D characters come out and rescue him basically, and he's got clear markings and they're like, oh yeah, he's got demonic markings on him and such. They take him to this dragon who is supposed to help cure him essentially. Dragon cures him, but then the dragon explodes into Tiamat and then they're fighting Tiamat and then it just kind of pauses and then it ends the episode. Like he's fighting off. He's like, oh, I've done this my whole life. And he's like, it looks really cool. And you're like, wow, I want more of this. And it's like, nope, next episode is Sifu. And like,
Yeah.
and that
You
was,
just never get to see what happens.
yeah. So like that was cool as well, but it's just so short. It's not, I like it and it's cool, but I want more. And you're not
Yeah.
going to give me more because you're just doing all of these other properties. So, yeah, not a huge fan of it. But let's go back to what you were saying.
I was just going to transition over. So moving
Okay.
right into, go ahead.
No, go on.
Oh, yeah. Moving right into the next thing. Xbox is reportedly working on a cross-platform interface called Project Rainway. Interesting name. I kind of like it. This is by Ben Carey at Pure Xbox. So this is not exactly exciting news, but it does kind of give you a little bit of insight into Xbox and exactly what they're looking to do. So we've heard all the rumors about them trying to make a handheld thing. We've seen this whole, Xbox Anywhere campaign, everything is an Xbox. When you have one entity trying to be present on a bunch of different platforms, which all have different interfaces. Phone is purely touchscreen. Your TV, you've got to like link a controller up to it somehow. Your console obviously works how it works, and whatever Steam Deck or Ioneo or whatever you're using there has its own interface as well. All these various things. How do you make sure that when people are playing the Xbox stuff, everybody else and them knows that they're playing the Xbox stuff? Well, you build it into the interface itself. So you make, a chat function, friends list, some obviously branded Xbox UI elements like the Xbox logo for like the home menu navigation button, things like that, so that no matter where you're at, what you're using, most of the controls and everything are the same. Getting in situations where you could have like Xbox Cloud Save, which I think actually I think I heard something yesterday that actually works for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on PlayStation or something. Like I think you can move your data over from there, or Xbox Cloud Save it or something, or maybe it was the PC version. I'm not sure, but
Probably PC.
either way, this will be the future where Xbox is everywhere and you always have that in place. They say that they got a lot of this kind of inspiration from Battle.net, which is what Blizzard was using for its cross platform interface.
And they still use it.
Yeah, they still use it. And that's the reason that I think this Project Rainway and kind of making something newer is going to be probably the direction to go, just because I mean Battle.net is old. Like I'm sure it's had a lot of facelifts over the years, but also Battle.net doesn't mean anything to anybody who hasn't played,
Well,
Blizzard
game.
games specifically. If you're anybody else, Xbox means more to you than Battle.net, and Blizzard probably means more to you than Battle.net. It's just kind of, unfortunately, its branding isn't associated in many people's minds, so it probably just get eaten up by this new thing.
Yeah, I mean, before coming in, my thought was like, they've already got battle.net. Why do you need to make something else? And I kind of understand from a branding standpoint, it makes sense to have something universal across all different platforms and ways that you could play Xbox games. That makes perfect sense. It does kind of beg the question of like, what happens with the other programs that they might have from acquisitions and how are they going to treat those? Do they keep battle.net as is, or does it, to your point, get eaten up by this new service? Or maybe it's a matter of rebranding battle.net to be like Xbox battle.net, right? You know,
That's
something,
true.
like can you take an existing thing and like maintain the branding and or not maintain the branding, but kind of skew from one to the rest in a sense, right? Like keep battle.net intact and all the great functions that are tied to that and expand that out into the Xbox brand, but just give it a new spin.
It
Um,
just seems like extra overhead, like you're paying people to maintain two different,
mhm.
things. And
One's got to
but
go.
also the on the other hand, it's like if battle.net is still like the user interface for people playing like old school StarCraft 1 and stuff, like are you going to go back and retroactively update all of those games to have like the Xbox branding instead of battle.net, or will it just be still compatible, or will it just go away? I don't know. I guess there's a use case for either situation. Keeping it legacy with all the legacy titles so you don't have to put money into changing those or risk alienating everybody by switching those servers off. Because I mean, you're gonna upset a very small portion of people, but a very vocal portion of people if you try to go back and turn off like StarCraft 1, I'm sure.
Yeah, a ton of people still play those games actually. I think I told you I played StarCraft 2 not too long ago on there
Mm-hmm.
and enjoyed my time and it was good. I enjoyed the chat and everything happening on there. Um, yeah, I mean like you said, it's not a super exciting topic, more water, but it's very interesting to see the direction that they're going right now to kind of create, like I said, that universal approach for their gaming consoles. Um, one thing to note too is like you had mentioned the Xbox Anywhere or whatever it is, that program. You know what's funny is not all of their games are on that. Like even first party games are
No,
not on
yeah.
that. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's like
so the Xbox Cloud streaming beta, I've been pouring over that list a lot lately, trying to find things to play here and there, and it is kind of a disappointing list. Like I just looked up Diablo yesterday. Diablo 4 is not on there.
and they own that.
Mhm.
So not like they don't. You know, and I understand like third party publishers that aren't really like directly tied to Microsoft and are putting their games on Xbox Live and whatnot. Um, or I mean Game Pass, not live. You know, I can understand where like those might not be on Xbox Anywhere, but your first party companies,
Well, it's still beta. Like
I
it's
know,
still
but
not fully released, so like they just turned on like I think up until like a month or two ago it was like a very small select list, and like most of it was Game Pass stuff. And then I think they just recently did that initiative where it's like your library and any games that you own that are compatible will work.
yeah. Well, if it's in beta, cool. You'd think that they would put some of their more premier titles on there, though. You know, I don't own it, obviously, so I know you've got a lot more experience with
Like
it. But
what do you think should be there that isn't?
like from what I've heard, Halo's not on there.
Halo was on there.
I've heard some of the Halo is not.
Maybe some of the Halo is not. I don't know. I can pull it up here real quick. See exactly. Oh,
And like you said, Diablo's not on there. Diablo's a
yeah,
premier
Diablo's
title.
not on there. I'm wondering if Diablo's not on there though, just because it is kind of like an always online kind of thing. But there are other multiplayer stuff on here, so I don't really know what the deal is with Diablo.
Yeah.
Let's see, shooters. Yeah, they got all the Fallouts, all the Gears of Wars, Halo Infinite, 5, Master Chief Collection. So maybe they're missing 4
That's just what I've been told.
or Reach or something. I don't know exactly what's missing from there. I mean, there is a ton of games on here, and unfortunately, I haven't really played a lot of it because I keep wanting to like sit down and play something, but it's like most of these games, I know that if I boot it up, it's really going to take me like 30 or 40 minutes before I'm even getting to the point where I'm doing like gameplay. So it's like, I just,
Do you not have like an
no.
Xbox app where you can download them straight to your console or something?
Well, no, they do have that, but it's like if I want to just like play the game, like most console games are not like mobile games or Game Boy games. They're not designed to just like turn on and be ready to play. Most,
Yeah, they require
Xbox
an install.
games, well, not in install, but it's like in Fallout 3, it takes you like 30 minutes of tutorial. Like
Oh, I
most
see.
big console games you boot up, it's like intro cutscene cinematic, making your character, making some decisions. Like if you've only got like 20 minutes to sit down and play something, like unless you're already halfway through a game or like already kind of into it, you really don't have that much. They're not really designed to be that kind of pick up and play style a lot of the time.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate that. Cool. Well, let's see. Let's move into Uninvited, our inflation deflation of the week. So, Uninvited on the Nintendo was developed by Kemco. It was published by Kemco. It was released in 1991 on the NES as well as a Mac, right? You don't have that noted
Well,
here.
so this is all just the NES stuff. So
Okay.
like
All right. So,
ICOM Simulations and Mindscape were the development publisher, and then originally came out in '86 on the Mac.
okay, cool. So it is a point and click adventure game. Reception was generally pretty good, but Ryan was not able to find much on the NES. So let everybody know, what is this game about?
Yeah, so synopsis, you wake up after having crashed your car into a tree, your sister's missing, and you just managed to free yourself from the car wreckage before it bursts into flame. And then you take a look at this big spooky mansion. You're like, hey, maybe my sister's in there. And you start investigating. It is a pretty straightforward, classic point and click adventure game. It does bring in a lot of, puzzles and just trying to use certain items in the right place and making sure that you're, hitting all the menu options and doing all the things so that you can really, you know, take in everything the game has to offer. I did the classic mistake of like I was looking at the letter that you get very early on, and it's like, oh, let me take that. Um, let me use that pendant. Oh, you can't use that pendant. You don't own that pendant. It's like, okay, well, I need to take the pendant from the letter, and then obviously I can use it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I experienced that a little bit with the ghost as well. So
mhm.
when I first came across the ghost in the hallway, I was like, okay, let me try and go through his door. Oh, well, you've gained her attention. She kills you. Game over. I'm like, oh, great, cool. All right, I got to go explore other parts of this mansion now. And I finally found no ghost apparently, and I was like, okay, cool. Let me use no ghost. And it says, all right, what do you want to use it on? Use it on the ghost. I'm like, oh, cool. It says you shake the bottle and nothing happens. You gain her attention. She kills you. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Turns out you have to open the bottle first, then use it on the ghost, and then it allows you to shake it on the ghost. And then she melts away and screams. So very interesting. I had a good time with this actually. I kind of wish we were playing this one together because I think we could have gotten a lot more out of it, being able to like
Yeah,
work with each other to say, hey, did you check that out? Oh, let's open this door. Let's kind of think about these items here and what should we turn on. So I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't get super far, but I played a good, 30, 40 minutes to get the general gist of it. And I could sit down and keep playing this with somebody. This
yeah,
to me felt like a game you have to sit down and play with somebody though, and
yeah,
like have them side by side to really enjoy it. Not to say the story is boring because the story itself actually was fairly engaging. Like it's very descriptive as you walk into different rooms. Like you have this unsettling feeling and this weight that's pulling down on you as you walk in. Like it really sets the tone for a horror game, which it is technically what it is, a horror point click adventure. And so, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that. The menu's a little wonky, specifically for a controller, mainly because you're having to hold the D-pad, or in my case, the Retron joystick, to try and move around on the menu to say, okay, cool, like click open to be able to open a door. Okay, now I have to deselect open to then go through the door. Like I said, with the take and use and open a bottle, right? Like you have to open the bottle first, then use it, and then click on where you want to use it. So it kind of sucks using a controller for this. I really do feel
Yeah.
this is a game that would have felt better as a point and click adventure on a PC. Just
Yeah.
100%. It would have been better with mouse control.
Yeah, that's the biggest criticism that I heard where I was looking for some information. Who was a gaming historian did a video on this. A pretty quick 10-minute video that I watched this morning getting ready for this. And yeah, I agree. Anytime you're emulating a mouse with a controller, it's not the best. I mean, funnily enough, that's really big now, especially in like these Destiny like, free to play shooters and stuff. They love emulating a mouse with a controller, but it does make this game so slow that in fact in the original version there was a timer of sorts. It was like a moves based timer that kind of gave you a little bit more sense of urgency in the game, but they did remove that because it was such a pain on the NES and having to try to do everything in a timely manner. But I think that this game overall, every time we revisit an NES game, like I don't give it enough credit. I think it's like way more like old school than it actually is. And man, I can't stop yawning today. But like,
I can't stop coughing, so we're in the same boat.
right? I'm just always so impressed. This is definitely, like you said, this is a game that I would sit down and play some more of for sure because it is fun and it is interesting to have that kind of old like first person horror experience like that, but just in such a archaic way.
Yeah, I mean, like, take away the controls on the NES on this, and I mean, you have beautiful art style in it. It's a very colorful game. It's nice and crisp. Great music, great story that's tied to it. I do feel things like the pointing and clicking, while on a controller slow, it's very receptive to what you're doing. Big inventory holder, a spell list that you gather. Like, it's got a ton of cool things on it.
Yeah, it seems like the
Um,
game gets pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, it definitely started to. So, as I said, this is definitely something I would look to continue playing, but I would wanna enjoy it with somebody else. I don't think this is something I can kind of because you wanna in a point like adventure, you wanna have somebody with you just kinda say, "Oh, yeah, let's do this, let's do that." Like, let's interact with all these different things, whereas when you're on your own, you're just kinda like, "It's not the same."
Yeah, you need
So
somebody to bounce ideas off of.
yeah, exactly, exactly, especially on the puzzle type stuff, right? It's super helpful to have that other set of eyes on it.
Hmm.
Um, well, looking at brass tacks, complete in box, 229.99. I'm looking at it just to make sure Ryan didn't screw me up this week.
Yep.
He did it to us last week. Peaked at 273.75 in October of 2021. That's trending slightly up at that price point. Great artwork, by the way, on the box and on the cart itself. A loose copy will run you 65.61. It peaked at $95 dollars in April of 2023. That's also trending up. You can also get on digital PC for $1.49 on Mac Venture series on Steam. So if you want a really cheap way to play this game and the correct way to play this game, $1.49 is how you go about it.
Well, I think it's actually also just like abandonware for the original Mac version.
Hmm.
So I think you can just kind of find a free copy of it legally that way as well.
Oh, nice.
This one's kind of hard for me because I like it. It's obviously worth playing, but if you can get it for $1.50 or free on computer, which has a better interface with the point and click, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to spend this much money like on either version
Yeah.
for the NES. It really just doesn't. There is some big differences. So like the NES music and stuff like that, those are not in the original Silent Mac version. So I don't know, like his Mac Venture series probably has like some, updates and stuff. I didn't really look into it. So if that is like a souped up version of the Mac, probably go with that one. Um, Either way, I mean, you're probably not missing too much by just going with the Mac one, anyways.
Yeah. I think it's 65.61. I will say, in my opinion, it is inflated. It's about a 3.5 hour game that you're going to be getting out of this. Um, it's good gameplay. It's a lot of fun in general. Great story, great art, great music. Just bad controls on the NES. I just don't see that being worth the headache. And I think that there's other point and click games you can get both on PC as well as other consoles for a cheaper price point that are going to give you a good time. So that would be my view on it. Although, dude, this is, in terms of covers, this is like top 20
I was
for
just
me.
staring at the cover on my other screen over here.
Yeah.
It looks like a Goosebumps book.
It does, yeah, and that's what caught my eye when I first bought this game. I bought it for probably $15 or $20. I don't know, 10. I'm looking at my thing here. About 12 years ago is when I bought it for that. And it was a good deal back then too. I want to say the game was like $30 back then. So it's doubled in price over the last 12 years or so, if I recall. Yeah, that's my view. I think it's a little inflated here for my liking.
Yeah, definitely going to be inflated, especially that complete in box. I mean, it looks like there was a time back in February of 2021. Wow, that's like right when everything blew up. But it was like a $14 difference between the loose and the complete. And then it
Mhm.
just exploded after that.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to viewed it back then, we probably would have said, "Hey, get a complete in box." At that point in time, it
Yeah,
would have
no
been
way
worth it.
now. Yeah, if you had bought this a couple of years ago, you'd be real happy with that prediction.
Yeah, this is why I generally only buy cart stuff. Very rare that I buy a complete in box NES game. So
Mhm.
cool. What is our other game that we have
The
next week?
next games we have, let's see, we did Warland, Uninvited. We have Psychosis for the TurboGrafx 16 or Sim Theme Park for PS1.
I think both of those we have to play them together because I don't think you have Sim Theme Park and you definitely don't have Psychosis. Um, so let's do Psychosis next week. I think you'll be coming over anyways. Well, no, you won't be coming over. So let's do Sim Theme Park next week. You'll be
Okay.
coming over later, so we'll have to play it, at a later time. So,
Mhm.
yeah, cool. Yeah, Psychosis it is. No, Sim Theme Park. Sim Theme Park next week. Psychosis following. Dude, I'm gonna blame the sickness on this, and I'm not down with it. Yeah, this is not fun.
Not down with the sickness?
Not
Oh,
down with the sickness. What? Cool. Well, hopefully next week you're done Bug Fables. You can give us an update.
yeah.
Yeah, 8 hours. I want to see if it happens. Otherwise, if it is not done by next episode, I will be thinking of punishments.
If
I
it's not
gotta.
done by next episode, I'll still have 2 days.
You will, but I will still be thinking of punishments. We're gonna need proof. It'll have to be on social media and everything with that the end artwork and like a thumbs up from you on there as well, so we know it's you.
I mean, I'm recording the whole thing, so.
That is true. You are recording it, so catch it on YouTube.
Mhm.
But you could copy somebody else's recording.
Nobody
I'm
else plays as bad as
I
I do.
I'm on you on this one. I'm on to you. All right. Well, this has been episode 320 of the Game Deflators podcast. My name is John,
I'm Ryan.
and thanks for listening.